In my PhD program, there used to be annual feedback session, okay, where at the end of every year, each PhD student is given feedback on their performance and what all they can do and how they can improve. Now, at the end of my first year review, I got a feedback that, you know what, you're treating this PhD program as an extended master's program, and that is not the right way. At the time, I was quite confused. What do they even mean? And then later I realized that I had really misunderstood the PhD program. And then I changed my ways, and then I got myself more tuned to the way the PhD program should be conducted. And here is why I am telling you these things. These are the biggest misconceptions and truths of PhD life, and knowing these truths, you can actually do better in your PhD program. This is Chaitanya Sambhara, PhD graduate in Computer Information Systems in 2015 from the Robinson College of Business, Georgia State University, and I am now a faculty at the College of Business, University of Texas, Arlington. So, the misconception number one is that a PhD is a standard program like bachelor's and master's. No, it is not. Okay, bachelor's program, for example, if you have done engineering or 4-year undergrad, you know that it is going to take 4 years, and this is the syllabus. These are the courses you will take in those 4 years. These are the requirements, and once you meet those requirements, you will be given your degree. Okay, and not just that, all the courses are pretty much standard. If you are in a class, every student has the same syllabus and they have to go through the same training. In PhD program though, it is quite different. It is not that way. Yes, in the first 2 years you take courses, some of them are required for everybody, so those are the common courses, but then you have electives. But then these electives are according to your interests, with expectation that you will actually develop your skills in that particular area. Two people who might graduate from the same department at the same year might have completely different research programs and research agendas. One person could be doing this kind of research, whereas the other person could be doing completely different from that. Simply put, nothing is fixed. It is not a standard of what kind of PhD you're getting. In fact, PhD is just like life. No two lives are exactly the same. Similarly, no two PhDs are exactly the same. The experiences are different, the nature of research is different, and then the way you approach your research is different from person to person. The second misconception is that your doctoral advisor or your PhD advisor will train you. No. Your advisor's job is to guide you in the right direction, but they are not going to sit and train you to become a researcher. Okay, you have to train yourself. This is at the level of PhD. You have gone through high school, you have gone through college of undergrad, and most people have also gone through their master's programs. Okay, by this time you are expected to learn things on your own. What your doctor advisor does is that he or she may tell you that these are the things that you would need to do this kind of research, so go and train yourself in this particular area, do this kind of work, and let us carry this work forward. It is not worth your doctor advisor's time to actually sit and train you on things. Now the third misconception is big one. Okay, be attentive, pay attention. Okay, people think that in their PhD program they are taught how to do research. It is true, right? For example, some people are trained how to do experiments, some people are taught case studies, some people are taught how to do secondary data analysis. There are different kinds of work that you can be trained in. But the point is that while you are being taught, for example, let's say while you are being taught how to do experiments, right? You may think that this is the kind of experiments I am supposed to learn how to do, and I can do those experiments and then I will do my research and get my PhD, right? One key thing that most of the world does not understand, and most of the people who are in charge of PhD programs won't tell you, because in their view it is obviously known, but most people actually do not know this, and it is this: majority of your experiments will fail. Even if you are doing data analysis on archival data, secondary data, even then thousands and thousands of your models will fail. In fact, yesterday I ran thousands of models and not a single one succeeded in giving me good results. Okay, and failure is part and parcel of researcher's life. In fact, you might have heard of the famous quote attributed to Thomas Alva Edison, is that he failed 10,000 times before he invented one bulb. Okay, and that is exactly what happens while you're doing your research. Most of the times you encounter failure, but that one success that you're pursuing can have the power to wash out all your other failures. Fourth misconception is that if you are good at what you do and if you work hard at it, you will definitely succeed. Eventually you might succeed, but the point is that the harsh truth is that when you are doing your research, how important your research topic is and how relevant it is according to the current times is a great determinant of your success. Let me just give you a real example. There was another doctoral student who was 1 year senior to me in my PhD program, and he was more talented than me, and in some ways he was even more hardworking than me. But when we were in the job market, I was doing better than him. And the reason was that his research topic was really outdated. A lot of people had done a lot of work on that particular topic, whereas at the time my research topic was latest and it was brand new. And that was what universities were looking for. Therefore, it is always important to make sure that you have right research topics. You are asking the right important and relevant and interesting and current research questions. Now, the next misconception is that people think that they will get enough stipend and based on that stipend they can live easily. For some people it is true, but some it is not. See, what happens is that if your PhD stipend is not enough, what do? You have to do some extra work, right? But it is recommended that you do work that is relevant to your university rather than working outside. If you're an international student, you're not even allowed to work outside of your campus. And even within your campus, the most you are allowed to work is for 20 hours. But what a lot of PhD students do is that they teach. Okay, even though teaching takes quite a bit of time, but then sometimes you are forced to teach an extra class to get that extra stipend if you are falling short of money. In my own PhD program, I was required to teach at least 2 semesters, but I ended up teaching 3 semesters. I taught in summer as well because at the time I needed that much extra money. Misconception number 6 is that this is a huge misconception that non-PhDs have about PhDs, and it is that if you are a PhD, you know a lot. Actually, that is not the case. Truth be told, what you know is deep knowledge in a narrow topic. You know a lot about a small topic, but you do not know so much about so many things. For example, every day I get messages from people asking about opportunities, I don't know, in biochemistry, construction management, some kind of physics, all those things. I have a PhD in information systems, and even within information systems, my focus is on a narrow research topic. That is all I spend most of my time on. What you're doing is that you're pushing the edge of knowledge and expanding human knowledge in that particular area. You cannot go and add more knowledge in every other topic. So this is where it is very important for me to clarify. I'm a professor, I'm not a career counselor. There is a difference. If you come and ask me about material science and engineering or some other construction engineering or civil engineering, I don't know, it is not my topic. The next misconception is that all PhD is good quality work. Actually, you know what? A lot of dissertations are pretty bad dissertations, especially in third world countries, but even in first world countries such as United States. Not every single dissertation is a good dissertation. There could be some dissertations that are pretty weak, and they have barely managed to get through. So how do you know that? You have to see whether this particular dissertation was eventually published in a scientific journal or not. That work might have been sufficient to get a degree from that particular university and that department, but it might not be good enough to get published in a good journal. Simply put, what is a good dissertation? A completed, done dissertation is a good dissertation. And what is a great dissertation? A published dissertation is a great dissertation. Misconception number 8 is that if you get a PhD, you can become a professor right after graduation. Okay, now this is a misconception because yes, all professors are PhDs, but it is not true that all PhDs do become professors. In fact, only 5% of PhD graduates are able to get a tenure track job in a university setting. 95% of the people are not becoming professors. What do they do then? For the most part, sciences graduates, for example, if you have PhD in physics or pharmaceuticals or chemistry or biology, whatever, most of these people end up getting postdoctorate positions where they are working in somebody else's lab and they are continuing their research program, although they are making a bit of more money, maybe twice as much as their PhD stipend in the postdoc position. Now, their ambition eventually is to become a lead scientist at a particular lab or becoming a professor in an academic setting. And the remaining people tend to take industry jobs. They work in companies even though they have PhDs, and for many of these jobs a PhD is not required. They get some extra brownie points if they have a PhD, but it is not absolutely required in many of these industry jobs. Some of them it could be required, and unfortunately there are people who end up taking positions that have nothing to do with their PhD. For example, I knew of one person who was an IT tester and he had a PhD in chemistry. So sometimes your situation actually forces you to pursue different opportunities if you are not getting opportunity in the educational background in which you were trained in. Now the misconception number 9 is that the better the university that you go into, the better your life will be. It is not really true, okay? What you should look at is that whatever topic or whatever area you are looking to get your PhD in that topic, is your university necessarily the best university in the world? For example, if I'm not mistaken, University of Delaware is not in the cream of the cream universities, but if you are in chemical engineering, it is among the best universities. So you have to look at the department or the program that you're applying for and select your university accordingly. Now, a very important point to be made in this regard is that not the university tag, but the performance and the tag of your doctor advisor is a bigger differentiator. What is the point of getting into a top-notch PhD program but ending up with a professor who does not put enough effort on your growth? Your life will become a living hell. Okay, if you have a good doctoral advisor who is an active researcher and is also a caring person, that in my view is much more valuable life experience than necessarily going into a highly rated PhD program. I know of a girl who went to a top-notch PhD program, but her relationship with her advisor was horrible. She went into depression and she ended up quitting her PhD program. A professor, even in a relatively lower ranked university, could be an outstanding researcher and a great doctor advisor. So in the end, it really depends on your luck. Okay, it is just like getting into an arranged marriage. You might be very lucky or you might be very unlucky. We do not know. Therefore, it is really important for you to collect as much information as possible regarding your doctoral advisor before you actually formally select that person. In my case, I had the world's best doctoral advisor anyone could have asked for, and I feel very blessed and I'm very thankful for it. And the final misconception is that all PhDs do is study all day and they have no social life. Nothing can be further than the truth. See, what happens is that yes, PhD life will make you very busy for stretched periods of time, but then it also gives you the flexibility to choose when you want to be busy. Let's say you have been working very hard for 3 days. Now you decide that, you know what, for the next 2 days I don't want to work, I will just take a small vacation. You can do that. If you are working for a company, you cannot say that, you know what, I don't feel like working, so for the next 2 days I will just go out and do my own thing. Moreover, you build close friendships with your peers who are going to be your lifelong friends. Because let's be real, if you are getting a bachelor's degree, you spend just 4 years, but you are not going through that level of grind that you go through sometimes a PhD program. And in PhD programs, your peer support is actually very valuable and very important. And whenever you go to conferences, you meet other doctoral students from other universities who then become your lifelong friends as well. So I hope I was able to remove some of your misconceptions. Thank you for watching. Jai Hind and God bless America.